I was saying, y'all, your boy Rico from Street Scores, and I'm finally back. I know this video is coming out really late, just been really busy, and I was out of town, and it's crazy too because my PC got fixed the first day I was out of town. I was like, what? But out of the way, I'm back in town, and I immediately had to do a lot of yard work because the grass got out of hand for not only my house, but a few other places that I had to do. It's just so much going on. So now I'm finally getting a chance to upload a real video, record one. The video I released earlier, just a clip that I wanted to put out there just to let everybody know I'm back a little bit. I'm not able to sit down and record something yet, but I'm back. So we're doing a Rico Returns report. It's a typical Rico report where we talk about a bunch of just randomness, a lot of really funny things, a lot of really interesting things, crazy stats, crazy rankings, all kinds of like updated information on anything that happened while I was gone. But since it's been so long, that there's some really interesting information in there. First of all, Terry McLaurin is getting a lot of recognition. I was noticing while I was out of town, Terry McLaurin was popping up very often on Twitter. Also, Chase Roullier, our former starting center, has retired. We got to talk about all of that and more, man. A crazy Jonathan Allen statistic. Cameron Curl getting recognized for his greatness as well. Emmanuel Forbes and Quan Martin already receiving some praise, and we haven't even started the season, and then a lot more. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you stiff arm that like button. Make sure you stay tuned with everything going on with the channel. Hit the bell next to the subscription button as well. Stiff arm that too, so you can stay updated on all of the content I'm coming out with, because I'm promising myself and y'all that I'm gonna come out with 2 videos a day for this Street Scores channel, and also at least 1 video a day for my Street Scores U channel that's centered around the Georgia Bulldogs. So man, like I said, we have to go ahead and hurry up and get to these film sessions before this training camp starts up. So I'm working on all of the film sessions for the entire rookie class and even some notable undrafted free agents. So make sure you stay tuned for all of the content, man. Like I said, 2 videos a day. I'm gonna have to find a way to squeeze it in. Stay tuned and let's get it.
You tell your family you're gonna be a commander.
All right, first of all, while I was gone, June 28th, the NFL released the training camp reporting dates for all 32 teams. The veterans for the Commanders report the 25th, but the rookies report the 21st of July, which is really interesting because I don't remember a time that the Washington Redskins football team or the Commanders have had the rookies report in not only just earlier in general, but like a whole 4 days earlier. That's really interesting. So that's, maybe that's just something different that Rivera Bieniemy is bringing to the table. I don't know, but that's definitely something new there. Also, this should be, the 21st should be the first day of the Josh Harris era. Apparently, there should be no errors going on. There's no expected errors. This should be a smooth process when the owners vote. I believe that takes place July 20th, so July 21st should be literally day 1 of the Josh Harris era instead of the Dan Snyder era, of reign of tyranny, whatever you want to call it, sadness, the dungeon days, whatever you want to call it. So it's really interesting that rookies will report literally the first day that Josh Harris will technically officially take over as our real owner. Of course, like I've said, we can celebrate the fact that Dan Snyder's selling the team, Josh Harris and all of those guys, Magic Johnson, all of them are buying the team. But of course, I just want to halt things. I want to always be realistic. It's not like Josh Harris is going to come in, we're going to get a new stadium next week, and then new facilities the week after that, and Cameron Curl gets signed to a long-term deal the day that Josh Harris buys the team and all of that. I'm expecting a lot of these things to happen. I'm expecting improvements for the stadium, the training facilities, a new stadium, hopefully in DC and stuff like that. I expect that a lot of those great things will happen, and even Cameron Curl's long-term deal getting done. But don't expect it to be done immediately or even sometime soon. It may happen before the season, Cameron Curl wise, but a lot of the other things I've already named will not happen before the regular season starts, like a new training facility and all that stuff. All of the stuff as to why we had terrible ratings in that NFL free agency breakdown, where we were literally dead last in the NFL with training facilities and training staff and food availability, how the team treats the players' families, all of those random sections where we were dead last. Some of those may improve relatively quickly, rather immediately, but most of that, just hold tight. Again, we can be optimistic. I'm very excited about Josh Harris buying the team, but at the same time, I don't want anybody having unrealistic expectations that suddenly this is about to just be an entirely new team immediately. So just want to hold y'all there. Of course, we have contracts, not even just Cameron Curl, but Antonio Gibson, Curtis Samuel. You never know. Maybe we want to go ahead and extend those guys before the season starts, but we'll see. But again, day one of the Josh Harris era starts. That's going to be really fun. So you may even get like a Josh Harris presser the first day that the rookies report. Again, the veterans don't report until the 25th, but the rookies report 21st, the first day of the Josh Harris era. As it seems, again, it's already been reported that everything should go smoothly when the owners vote and everything. So it's assumed that Josh Harris will be the owner of the team by the time the rookies report. And again, we may get a Josh Harris presser, which should be really fun. Not only are we getting the start of training camp with the rookies, we're going to get a chance to talk to Emmanuel Forbes, Quan Martin, all those guys, Ricky Stromberg, but we may even get a chance to talk to Josh Harris, maybe even Magic Johnson pulls up, Mitchell Rails, all of those guys. So I'm really excited, man. This is really, really interesting, and I just can't wait. Also, you can tell there's severe optimism working right here, and I don't know if y'all believe in the NFL script writers or not or whatever. Maybe this says that the Commanders will be really good, or maybe this could just simply be optimism behind Sam Howell at quarterback, Eric Bieniemy as offensive coordinator, and Josh Harris as our owner instead of Dan Snyder, because the average resale price of Commanders tickets is $280 right now, up from $182 this time last year in 2022, which is crazy. And even though that is a huge increase, we still got to remember that that is the 11th cheapest NFL resale ticket price right now. So we made a huge jump, but it's not like we moved into the top half of the league just yet. But it's a huge jump from last year. If Dan Snyder was still the owner of this team, we had no real hope to really bank on other than maybe Sam Howell and Eric Bieniemy. But if Dan Snyder was still the owner, maybe we would still be somewhere like dead last or something like that. But we moved up to at least the 11th cheapest, which is, you know, a huge improvement, almost double. From 182 to 280. That's, I mean, of course, there's a certain level of the NFL increases in value every year, but that jump is incredible right there. So, hey, man, there's some real optimism that the Commanders should be able to do something. Like, these tickets are worth more because people are assuming that these games should be better to watch. And so I'm really excited. I mean, of course, we have a lot of 1 p.m. games. We'll see how the NFL actually plays out, because the schedule makers as of right now don't truly believe in this, and of course a lot of betting odds don't. But those ticket sale prices, them resale prices, I think it's mostly just on the optimism of the fan base being excited about Dan Snyder being gone. And again, you have new quarterback, new offensive coordinator / head coach, a lot of new pieces everywhere. Our draft picks, Terry McLaurin and all of those guys. Deron Payne most recently got paid. Jonathan Allen's paid long term. It just feels like everything is finally going well. We just got to see what happens on the field. But sadly, at the same time, moving on, some Commanders rankings that are interesting. The Commanders are ranked 24th out of the NFL, when the ESPN ranked all 32 NFL teams by rosters. Not necessarily how good they'll be. This isn't even necessarily a power ranking, how many games they're winning, anything like that. They're just purely going off of what the roster looks like and like how good the roster is. And we're 24th behind the Packers, Bears, Raiders, Patriots, Saints, Giants, whole bunch of teams. Not really good, but at least they have us ahead of the Panthers, Falcons, Buccaneers, Titans, Texans, Colts, Rams, and the Cardinals are dead last. So, I mean, maybe that's foreshadowing that the NFL and most people believe that we should beat the Cardinals going into that week 1 game. Again, if you look at my thumbnails, I have the countdown to that week 1 game against the Cardinals right there, the exact amount of days. So make sure you pay attention to that, to all of my thumbnails. That's why I do it. I'm doing it for me as well, too. I'm trying to keep track, like, oh, we only have 60-something days until we play the Cardinals, which is week 1 of the NFL season. Everything gets rolling. Of course, my Georgia Bulldogs start a week before that, but either way, football is not as far away as it really seems like and feels. So I'm really excited. So make sure you stay tuned and check out every single one of my thumbnails, because that's what that calendar is for. Also, remember when the Commanders were known, at least amongst this fan base, as potentially the worst third down defense in NFL history? Well, it's interesting how much of a turnaround they had last year, and that's before we even added Emmanuel Forbes, Quan Martin, and all of these guys. But the Washington Commanders third down defense last year was first in conversion percentage with 31.9% allowed, and completion percentage with 50.7%, which was second. So first in third down conversion percentage allowed, and second in completion percentage allowed on third downs by the defense. really good, man, to go from, again, what it felt like the worst in NFL history to the best in the NFL. Hey, man, you got to praise Jack Del Rio and all those guys. Jeff Zgonina stepping up big time and in place of Sam Mills III and getting that D-line to finally do what they're supposed to do. Shouts out to Ryan Kerrigan as the assistant D-lines coach, and Warren Sapp coming in to help those guys when he can throughout the summer as well. Not even like hired full-time, just coming to he literally just wants to see these guys be great. So shouts out to Warren Sapp. Then the secondary improving. Benjamin St-Juste progressing was huge. Derek Forrest progressing was huge. We saw Percy Butler flash and Khaleke Hudson flash that last game of the season against the Cowboys. I'm expecting great things from them moving forward. Jamin Davis is only getting better. I'm really excited about the secondary, man. Cameron Crowe, we're going to talk about him a little later, but he's only getting better. I just can't wait to see what these rookies do. So it's only going to be up from here. I mean, it's hard to, it's difficult to improve from being the best in the NFL, but I think we can hold on to that title and continue to be the best third down defense in the NFL moving forward. And then also, the Commanders' defensive line unit ranked third in the NFL ahead of the 2023 NFL season. Pro Football Focus did their preseason rankings of the NFL units. They did offensive line, running backs, defensive line, defensive secondary, all of that type of stuff. And when it got to defensive line, they had us third. When it got to defensive secondary, which is really interesting, they had us 11th. And again, I'm going to keep saying it, say it over and over again. The debate has been between the receiver group and the defensive line. What's the best position group on the Commanders right now? Don't be surprised if that dark horse, the secondary, sneaks up. Pro Football Focus in another article just a couple of weeks ago before my PC was all just completely done with and all that type of stuff, before it crashed and everything and I had to get a lot of stuff replaced, I talked about how Pro Football Focus felt like our secondary was already the strongest position group on this team, probably because of the fact that we invested our first 2 picks in this most recent draft into it, and we already had a lot of great pieces there before the draft even happened. So, hey, man, the defensive line is the third best in the NFL. They feel like the secondary is already the 11th best, and we haven't even seen Emmanuel Forbes and Quan Martin go out there and play. And Derek Forrest is still learning. Percy Butler is still learning. So I'm really excited. If Benjamin St-Juste can stay healthy and everybody progresses the way that I think they should, this secondary could easily be higher than 11th by the end of the season. Could easily be top 5. I'm not lying to you. I think the receiving group, the defensive line, and our secondary can easily be top 5 each. I really do. And then also other rankings, our receiving group, including tight ends, is 19th. Our linebackers, 25th. Our running backs, 27th, which is ridiculously low. And our offensive line, 27th. I disagree with all of these, but the one I disagree with the most is running backs. I think our running backs group is going to finish top 10 by the end of the season. I think we're going to shut a lot of people up there. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if the secondary ends up in the top 5. The defensive line being top 3, okay, but I think it's number 1. But cool, Chase Young and Montez Sweat are going to go out, because that has to be it. There's no way they're doubting Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, so it has to be some doubt in Chase Young and Montez Sweat to go out there and do what they got to do. Don't forget KJ Henry and James Smith-Williams. And I think the linebacker group, even though they're not the most talented, they don't need to be because the team around them is so great. The secondary and the defensive line, they don't have to be, so that's okay. And in the offensive line, I think they're going to play better than 27th. Are they better than 27th talent-wise? I'm not sure. But the way Eric Bieniemy is going to literally hide their weaknesses with his play calling and scheme, just like he did for Andrew Wiley and all of those Chiefs offensive linemen the past couple of years, I think he's going to do the same magic with the Commanders O-line. It may not be the most talented, but Eric Bieniemy is going to make up for that. And then moving on, we have a very interesting statistic for Jonathan Allen. So Brandon Thorne of NFL, he created a metric called pressure quality ratio that reflects the rate of high quality to low quality pressures. So he tries to differentiate what's a high quality pressure and a low quality pressure, rather than it just being a flat pressure and that's it. We don't dive deep into what was actually a good one or a bad one, accidental, one caused by just great coverage, like one you actually truly earned and like you're a dominant pressure creator type of guy. It's a good way to look at the most potent pass rushers who may not have the volume of pressures as others. So really interesting. Don't just look at how many pressures people have. Look at the value of the pressures. So Jonathan Allen, even though he only had 36 pressures last year, he had 23 high quality ones, which is why according to this entire metric and system breakdown, Jonathan Allen was the third best pressure creator and pass rusher in the NFL last year. Myles Garrett number 1, Micah Parsons number 2, Jonathan Allen number 3. Then you have Dexter Lawrence, Max Crosby, Quinnen Williams, Nick Bosa, Darius Smith, Chris Jones, and it just keeps going and going and going. So when you look at the advanced statistics and don't just look at the flat surface stats, you dive deep into the tape and look at like actual, not just quantity but quality. Jonathan Allen, according to these metrics, is the third best pass rusher in the entire NFL. Love to hear that, man. He should have been all pro, but it's cool, man. He'll make it this year coming up. And then moving on to Terry McLaurin, again, like I foreshadowed in the intro, he's been getting recognized a lot since I've been gone. I was out of town, PC being worked on all at the same time and things like that. And I was just seeing all of this Terry McLaurin love. It was amazing. First of all, you had the 33rd team. They had their most efficient deep threats in 2022. They had 6 of them. They had Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, A.J. Brown, my dog George Pickens, Tyreek Hill, and of course our boy Terry McLaurin as a top 6 deep threat in the entire NFL, up there with Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, A.J. Brown, George Pickens, and Tyreek Hill. I mean, just the stats alone for Terry McLaurin: 10.4 yards before catch per reception, 34 20-plus yard catches out of 77, and a 103.9 rating when targeted, which is even higher than Tyreek Hill, who had a 101.3 rating when targeted. Also, ESPN ranked the 50 biggest NFL draft steals of the past decade, and Terry McLaurin was on the list. Of course, they have Travis Kelce, number 1, drafted 63rd overall. Tyreek Hill was second. Devontae Adams third, Cooper Kupp, Derrick Henry, Dak Prescott, Stephon Diggs, George Kittle, Fred Warner, Jalen Hurts, and it goes on and on and on. Shouts out to my boy Alvin Kamara at 13. And then you have Terry McLaurin 29th. Again, out of the 50 biggest draft steals of the past decade, going all the way back to 2013, the draft immediately after we drafted RG3, which feels like a long time ago. Terry McLaurin is the 29th biggest draft steal. You could argue that he should be higher than that, but I'll take it. That's some serious recognition, because it just seems like up until this offseason, Terry McLaurin hasn't been getting recognized. He's been getting recognized for a while this offseason, but since I've been gone, these are some of the things. Also, Pro Football Focus Fantasy on Twitter posted a really interesting Terry McLaurin stat: 42 contested catches over the last 2 seasons, first in the NFL. So you can easily argue Terry McLaurin is the best contested catch receiver. We've been saying this for a couple of years now. He's been leading in that statistic for a couple of years now, and he's still continuing to do so. So I love the fact that Terry McLaurin is getting a lot of national recognition. The fan base already knew. It seems like Jay Gruden, as much as we give him hate and a lot of flack, he seems like he was the first one to know that Terry McLaurin was that guy, or at least one of the first. And then now it seems like the national media is finally catching up. And then you have Cameron Curl, the same account on Twitter, Pro Football Focus Fantasy, did a IDP tier 1 safeties, and Cameron Curl was one of them. So they ranked their safeties in different tiers, not necessarily like in an exact order, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They had tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and things like that. Cameron Curl was in that tier 1 along Derwin James, Jalen Petre, my boy Kyle Hamilton, Budda Baker, Jaquan Brisker, and Grant Delpit. That's great company to be in, to be one of the 7 best safeties in the NFL. Oh boy, man. I wish they would have held these things until after we paid them long term, because the hype is getting real, and that man is only looking at that, and the price is only going up and up and up. I hope it isn't, though. Also, really interesting Jacoby Brissett statistic. Shouts out to Chris Cooley for reading the Pro Football Focus article that broke down the best QBs in each situation last year. So, like, deep passing versus man coverage, against blitz, against pressure, against zone coverage, and like all of the random specific things that a quarterback could be best at statistically. You got to look at the tape as well. You can't just look at numbers for that. And Chris Cooley went and read the article and found Jacoby Brissett in all of these rankings, and he's higher than you would think. When it comes to quarterbacks with short passes, he was 4th out of all quarterbacks in the NFL. Intermediate passes, 10th. Against the blitz, 10th. Versus man coverage, 9th. Versus zone coverage, 9th. So you could easily argue he's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL based on these advanced stats, not just surface stats, not the flat stats on the surface, all of that type of stuff. We're talking advanced statistics where you got to truly watch the tape and look at very specific things, isolate the quarterback from what's going on around them, how bad or good the team is around them, the receivers, the offensive line, and how dominant the defense or how poor the defense is that he's performing against and things like that. Jacoby Brissett is statistically a top 10 quarterback in a lot of advanced metrics, which is really interesting to have as a backup. Again, I think he's the best backup in the NFL. Some people feel like he's not. I think he easily is, and that's a great person to have behind Sam Howell, because if anything, is only going to motivate Sam Howell to go out there and perform. If we just brought in some random backup, it was obvious this guy has no chance at starting. He's not even good. Sam Howell would have no extra motivation to push himself, that extra just little push to just make sure he holds that job. And I'm pretty sure Sam Howell is already a very self-motivated guy, but bringing in a Jacoby Brissett, I'm telling you, we're going to look back years from now, Sam Howell's going to win us some Super Bowls, and we're going to be thankful that we brought Jacoby Brissett in at the time that we did, I'm telling you. And then also moving on to Emmanuel Forbes. Emmanuel Forbes said in a recent interview that he tries to model his game after Jalen Ramsey. Forbes said that he plans to bring Ramsey's type of physicality to his game. Really interesting, because Jalen Ramsey, one of them ones, you know what I'm saying, built like, I don't know Emmanuel Forbes, but that's interesting. Forbes even said that he's not scared to tackle Derrick Henry at all, despite weighing 180 pounds. And I can tell you who was afraid of tackling Derrick Henry last year. That was William Jackson. He literally tried to avoid tackling Derrick Henry. He did some super poor, like tried to make it look like to the coaches he tried, but you could obviously tell he didn't. He literally got benched after that and never recovered. Like, it ended up getting released a few weeks after that and things like that. So, hey, it's great to hear that we have a guy that isn't afraid to tackle Derrick Henry. But hey, Emmanuel Forbes, love you, and I'm expecting big things out of you. I'm one of your biggest fans in the Commander Nation. But I mean, there's even linebackers and defensive linemen out there that don't want any problems with Derrick Henry. So it's okay. It's okay. I love the mentality, but just know it's okay. You ain't got to lie to me, Craig. Forbes reportedly plans on working out before and after practices in order to add weight. So that's interesting. Emmanuel Forbes has heard the noise about the weight concerns and things like that, and it sounds like he's going to do everything he can to silence those concerns, not only with the play on the field, but also he wants to just gain weight with muscle to be as physical like a Jalen Ramsey. If Emmanuel Forbes turns into Jalen Ramsey, like a Jalen Ramsey clone, that is a ridiculous steal at where we got him in the draft. A huge steal, a monumental steal. But like I've already said, even ignoring him adding weight, before he even talked about adding that much weight, he's already 180. He's thinking about adding more. I've been saying that he's the Bryce Young of cornerbacks, because literally everything you could ask for, he seems to be really good at, or even elite. Like as far as length, quickness, speed, explosion, instincts, IQ, awareness, recognition, route concepts, all of that type. He's like really good to elite at a lot of those things, but you just have that size concern. And it's not even like Bryce Young where he's short and, you know, weighs a little. He's only just pretty lightweight, but he's long, he's tall, he's like 6'1" and runs a 4.3 something. So if you can add some weight to that already really long frame, because corners having long arms is very underrated. And so, man, I'm really excited about his future, I'm telling you. And then moving on from first round pick of the 2023 NFL draft to the second round pick that we had, Quan Martin. And so the Commanders DB Quan Martin lands on the NFL Analyst All Rookie team, which is really interesting. To go on the all rookie team as a second round pick, and a lot of people felt like that was a reach and he should have gone in the third and things like that. Chad Reuter of the NFL.com recently revealed his projected all rookie team for 2023, and he included Washington defensive back Martin, not Forbes. So Forbes is not even on there, but Quan Martin is. That's how high he is on him. Martin slides into the Commanders nickel spot, which I agree, he's going to be our starting slot corner, challenging slot receivers with his quick feet and tenacity. He can be an effective blitzer as well, and will handle his run responsibilities from the get-go. So he's expecting Quan Martin to not even be like a developmental guy. He should be ready to start week one and have an immediate impact. So that's really interesting. Again, all rookie team. Like, out of all of the rookie corners he could have put on there, Quan Martin over a lot of great guys, even including our boy Emmanuel Forbes, who we were just talking about, who's hoping to play like a Jalen Ramsey. That would be lovely. I mean, that's really high expectations, and I'm not going to hold him to that. But man, if he could turn into Jalen Ramsey, That's going to change everything about this defense, this team, the trajectory, all of that type of stuff. And now for the last 3 things that we're going to talk about, very random news. First of all, JP Finley saw a Maryland license plate, and I've never seen this style of Maryland license plate yet. I guess I've been gone for way too long. I'm still used to the state flag one. I've never seen this blue one, but it says "By Dan" on it, and I'm really excited about that. Him, along with most of us, if not all of us, are ready to celebrate that June 20th Josh Harris buying the team. Also, just to let you know, for those of y'all that want the Commanders to end up being on Hard Knocks this year, and I'm one of them. I'm usually heavily against being on Hard Knocks, but I feel like this year will be a great time to do it. It sounds like it's been reported that the Jets are bracing for an involuntary Hard Knocks assignment. So it sounds like the NFL, even though the Jets don't want to do it, the NFL is going to end up picking them because of Aaron Rodgers, and they have a really loaded roster. Can't be too mad. I think we're more entertaining, but I can see the argument easily for the Jets to be the better team. And I mean, Aaron Rodgers or Sam Howell, I can see why the NFL would just, if for views and trying to make as much money as possible off of advertisements and clicks and things like that, I could see why they would go with the Jets. But again, I did it in another video where I did like a whole 5-minute breakdown why I feel like we would be the most interesting team in the NFL for Hard Knocks, but I can't be mad at them choosing the Jets, and it sounds like that's the way that they're going. We'll see. Also, and lastly, before we get up out of here, I wanted to save this for last because I just wanted to take the time to thank Chase Roullier. Former Commanders standout center Chase Roullier has announced his retirement. He was easily a top 10 center in the NFL, arguably top 5 when healthy, but that was the problem. Back-to-back seasons with season-ending injuries, and then we cut him. We drafted Ricky Strongberg, a center, in the 3rd round, and hopefully he's ready to start week 1, but we're not exactly sure if he's ready yet because so far he went from 3rd string to 2nd string, but he hasn't replaced Nick Gates. Speaking of Nick Gates, he's a guy that we signed to free agency who's a guard center, but more of a center, like an interior offensive lineman backup. But if he needs to start a center for us until Ricky Strongberg is ready, that's cool. We're all right with that. And so we just were like, all right, Chase Roullier, with all of the money that you're making and you can't stay healthy, we might as well go ahead and move on. And we still have Tyler Larson as like a 3rd string center when if necessary and things like that. And then Chase Roullier, apparently, maybe, I don't know if it were just because other teams didn't want to sign him, he felt like he was worth more money, or maybe he's just tired. Like, man, these injuries, I'm sick of it, and I would like to be able to walk and play with my kids and things like that as they're growing up at the end. So I'm just assuming that maybe he was just like, man, I'm done. And again, shouts out to Chase Roullier for everything you did for us, man. You toughed it out through some really ugly seasons for us, especially these past 2 seasons with getting hurt back-to-back seasons with season-ending injuries. Really good center, huge still in the draft. I mean, honestly, if he would have stayed healthy, perfectly healthy, didn't miss more than 5 games since we drafted him, he probably, more than likely, would have been on that same list that Terry McLaurin was on for the top 50 biggest draft steals. Because again, top 10, arguably top 5 center, and we got him in what, like the 5th, 6th round or something like that a few years ago. I mean, if it's just health concerns, man, he could have been so great for us. But it is what it is, man. Again, I just want to thank him. Shouts out to you, Chase Roullier. If you're for some reason watching this video, really appreciate everything you did for us, man. Really do. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it. If you learned anything, again, stiff arm that like button, stiff arm that subscribe button, and stiff arm that bell button right next to the subscription button because I'd really appreciate it. Also, shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors whose names you see scrolling on the screen right now. I'm back, Juice. Hey, man, like I said, 2 videos a day, man. We got to get to work. Film sessions, all kinds of stuff. I have so many video ideas that I just never got the chance to do before I went out of town. I was hoping, if my PC never broke, I would have had several videos not only out before I went out of town, but I was planning on working on some videos that were going to release while I was out of town. But PC literally they called me up and say your PC is ready to go and fix. You can pick it up right now. The day that I leave for out of town, I'm out of town for like 10 days. Day 1 of being out of town. Barely even got comfortable. Just got off the plane almost, just like only a couple of hours ago. And they're like, your PC is ready. So that was crazy timing, but I'm happy to be back. It's time to get back to work and to, you know, get back everything that I missed from these past really like 2 weeks of not being able to put out consistent content. So make sure y'all stay tuned, man, and I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. Let me know, of course, how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Everything. Terry McLaurin, Jonathan Allen, Emmanuel Forbes, Cameron Curl, Quan Martin over Emmanuel Forbes, and the all-rookie team, Chase Roullier retiring, the team officially being sold July 20th, and the rookies reporting July 21st for training camp, the veterans the 25th, everything. And man, I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.